Well, guys, I have a very special treat. I am interviewing the amazing, incredible, and ever poetic Zan Perrion. You guys stay tuned. You don't want to miss this. Hey guys, before we go into this video, I just wanted to share with you, this is a long video with Zan. Be sure that you watch it to the very end. There were so many things that Zan said that even me as a woman, I was just like, wow. It just really brought me back to my heart, and it was just incredible, the profound wisdom that comes out of this man's mouth. So I really encourage you. It's a long interview, but you're quarantined home anyways. Watch it to the very end. And let me know in the comments section, like, what part of this really speaks to you. It was just in my heart to do this interview with Zan because I know that a lot of people are feeling very alone, very isolated, lots of hopelessness going out. And the last video that I did with Zan was so powerful, and so many men were moved by this video that it was really on my heart to do this, to encourage you guys to speak life back into you and to really give you some positivity when it comes to pursuing women. So I really hope that you enjoyed this. And like I said, make sure that you stay to the very end because there's so many profound seeds of wisdom that you can take from this video. Well, hello and welcome. My name is Arica Angelo. I've not been looking at the camera. And I am your dating and relationship expert. And I have a very, very, very special person on the call with me today, Mr. Zan Perrion. How are you, my love?
Hello. I'm fantastic.
Good, good. Zan, I don't know
100%.
if you know, 100%. Of course you are. You're Zan Perrion. But of course. You kind of got like this Johnny Depp, Captain Sparrow, Casanova thing going.
This is my just woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
I know, you're so sweet to do this. And you're so much more prepared than I was. And here, wow. So I don't know if you know this, but the last time you and I did our interview, man, in the comments section, it was really touching. Men were writing in and saying they were actually like crying watching this interview. And it was really interesting. So I'm out here, I live in Bali, you live in Bucharest. And I was at a spa at a gym, and this guy was like, oh, you do dating and relationship advice. And he goes, he's asking me about all these books. And he goes, have you read this one, this one? I said, no. And he said, have you read this book called The Alabaster Girl by Zan Perrion? I go, have I read that book? That book is the Bible of women. That's how I explain that book to people. It is the Bible for women. And he was like, I was like, I have an interview with Zan Perrion. You have to go watch it. It was the most powerful interview. And yeah, it's, even in Bali, people are talking about you.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, isn't that sweet? It's kind of cool. Very cool.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very nice.
And and then he was telling me, he was like, you know, like Zan was in the book The Game. So some people may not know. I'm sure most single men have read that book, The Game. And so part of that book he wrote about you, I heard.
Part of it what?
Part of the book he wrote about you, like you're involved in the book.
Yeah, there's a chapter in there about me. That came out in 2005. That's a long time ago. Wow.
Yeah, and people are still talking about that. And oddly enough, guess who I ran into out here in Bali? Mystery.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. I met him at a restaurant, and I was like, what a small world we live in. Out here in Bali, such a small world.
I saw him in London a few years ago. The last I saw him, yeah.
Wow.
Amazing.
So Zan, you've been like helping guys with, what would you say you help guys with? Like, what would be like when guys come to you, what do they come to you for?
Well, I think if I were to kind of bottom line it, I would say, Erica, that, you know, the kind of things that we're trying to understand for ourselves, for my young self. That's why I wrote the book for my young self, right?
The Alabaster Girl.
Is how to have this abiding, inviting spirit, you know, so that there's a a kind of a magnificence to your life, an attempted magnificence, a way of living in an artistic way. I know that sounds abstract, but my stuff is abstract, and but it's very practical. It's highly practical. But I mean, that's why the Alabaster Girl, it took me 10 years to write, because it couldn't just be, it's 400 pages, but it couldn't just be the content. It had to be the way the content was couched, how it was arranged and how it felt, and it had to have a musicality to it, because the rhythm of a men and women, there's a musicality to it and a harmony. And I think I could go on about this forever, but I think harmony is the thing that we've lost on the earth, and I don't mean the harmonic. What I mean by that is we've lost it in politics, we've lost it in relationships, we've lost it in communities, and we have this antagonism,
Yeah.
So harmony and musicality is what we're missing. So you try and reinvent that back into the heart of men, so that they stand on this earth proud of who they are, and not apologetic and shameful.
Sure. I know one thing that you always talk about is ease and delight. And I think that is part of that rhythm that you're talking about, that music, that I completely agree with you that we have lost. I know even myself, like you really convict me, because I can find myself feeling very masculine, like running my business and this and that. And you talk so much about ease and delight. And it's even as a woman now, like where that should be our very essence. But, women, we change roles. And so we're earning our own money and stuff like that, which is, we have to get into a masculine to do that. But we've even lost that sense of ease and delight and that sense of harmony, which is transpired, and why relationships have lost it. Because, I think as a whole, a lot of us women have really lost that, and it's become more logical. This is kind of fucked up, but I was just talking to my girlfriend yesterday, and I said, where I'm seeing relationships right now, I said, it's almost like two people have to get trapped into it for there to be an actual commitment. Like, and what I mean by that is like to get like involved in a relationship, there has to be some like circumstance in life that forces them to do it. But it's not just more like that playful delight of we choose each other, the stuff that we see in the movies. Now it's like you have to get pregnant, you have to get stuck in a country together, like
now you got to get serious.
Health insurance, like these are the reasons why people get into a relationship now, as opposed to ease and delight.
Yeah. The poet Goethe said, "Do not hurry, do not rest." And it's been kind of my my motto for years and years and years. I read Casanova's memoirs when I was like 19 years old, and he had this he's the one that talked about just relaxing in the stream of life and trusting, just trusting that you look back in your life, Arica, where you are now, and all the series of misfortunes and things that didn't go according to plan, but you look back and you would not have planned it any differently.
No,
it's like a thread that you wouldn't have, and he trusted life, and I never forgot that. And I thought, like, we're so bound up in our concerns and and like you said, our earnestness to be productive and to do, as opposed to sitting in contemplation. Aristotle said the only life that has value is one that's in contemplation. And that's why you're in Bali. You can sit and contemplate. You commune with nature. And we've lost that. We just consume media.
And it's no wonder that women love you. I'm like, I can't tell you the last time I've sat with a guy who's just quoted poetry like this. I'm like, shit, I can't even quote poetry. No wonder why women love this guy. Who does this anymore? Guys, take note. Like,
oh boy,
quote poetry. And if there are any ladies watching this, he's off the market. You're engaged. Yeah.
We're married now.
I didn't know this. When did you guys get married?
A year ago, almost a year ago.
It's been ages since you and I have talked. Wow, it's so beautiful.
Well, we've been together 8 years, and we're still like, it's just fantastic, it's a relationship without burden.
Right.
You know?
How did she not, this is a personal question as a woman, even though I don't have a woman audience, but you know, for us women, when we're in a relationship, like year 2, we're like, where's the ring? Year 3, we're like, when are we getting married? Did she do any of that with you, or
No, no. And
really?
I think because she's got the same kind of energy and spirit as me, where, you know, we love the day that we're in.
Yeah.
We want to maximize, like I, I'll sit with her in the evening and we just talk. Like last night, we talked for like 4, 5, 6 hours last night.
Oh my
Just
God.
visiting each other, just like, I want to know what's going on with you.
Whoa.
What are you working on? But the thing that makes it work, and which is so remarkable about it, is I've got my thing with Arza Murata,
Yeah.
my coaching, my public speaking, this type of thing. And she's an architect and she's a set designer. And so she's creating shows and this types of things. And she's an artist, and she sits on, AutoCAD, and she's magnificent on, on design. And she's fighting her battles, her trajectory. I'm fighting my battles, my trajectory. She has her circle of friends and professionals and colleagues that she deals with that I have no clue. I don't say, hey, can I get invited to that party too? It's like, that's her. So she has her own entity. I have my own entity.
Yeah.
And then the relationship, is the third entity. And, I think the mistake we make is we try and blend everything together and force you Arica, to tell me everything, what's going on with you. And as opposed to sitting in curiosity and wonder and peace and delight.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Because I think this is a struggle for a lot of guys, and even I struggle with this sometimes. What does curiosity look like? I'm just gonna ask in your relationship, if you're okay with that. Like, so like she's had her day, you're saying her trajectory and her struggles in her day. So when you sit down with her and what does curiosity sound like? What does it look like?
What's amazing is we get in a relationship and think, okay, we got that part of my life handled. Now I'll go concentrate on my work and,
Totally.
all this stuff I'm trying to do. And yeah, I'll get to you eventually. And, we haven't talked in a while, etc.
Yeah.
But, and then we think we have to do a grand gesture. I have to buy a dozen roses now because I haven't, I have to do some grand, phenomenal gesture to prove something,
Right.
So we distance, or we sort of ignore, and then I better take care of this because she's been frustrated lately, or that sort of thing. I'm talking from the man's perspective.
Sure.
But the greatest men in the greatest relationships have this quality. They are constantly in awe of their girl, and by that I mean they drop seeds all day long. She's walking by with the laundry, their hair up in a ponytail, and he's in the middle of whatever he's doing, playing his computer game or doing some work, whatever. And he stops for that beat, that little breath. And he pauses her and he says, I just wanted to say, I'm just looking at you. Boom. She walks off. That's it. No grand gestures. You don't have to buy all the dozen roses of it, but to drop that. And also the other thing is men learn that, we should compliment our wife or a girlfriend.
Sure.
But what we're missing is the how do I say it? The admiration of what she's trying to fight for and accomplish in her life. So when I sit down with Deanna and I talk to her, I'm like, tell me about, like what projects you're working on, what, where are you frustrated, and what's your vision for it? Because so there's appreciation, and what men don't have in a relationship is appreciation for their girl, And I'm speaking from the men's perspective. Yeah. So if you can drop moments of appreciation, she's doing the dishes, and you say, you know what, I just want to say this to you, my little sweetie. I appreciate that you do this all the time, and you're taking care of that. And that little note of appreciation, is what we're missing. And it goes miles, and it makes you feel seen. It makes her feel beloved. It becomes your beloved, not just your wife or your girlfriend. It's my beloved. That's my beloved, which is a biblical term and a poetic term, but it's real. Yeah. I'm missing.
It's so interesting. As you're talking about her, I can feel it in my stomach. I can feel your appreciation for her and the love that you have for her. And every time you talk about her, I start smiling. It's like I can feel the joy you carry inside for her. And as you talk about her, I'm like, just like beaming, like I don't even know her. I've never met her, but it just makes me happy hearing the love that you have for her. Do you think, I think sometimes like we lose a sense of curiosity because also we're just too distracted. Like one thing that you really have is
Hmm.
you're really present. Like you're a very present person. And do you think that that also, like, to be curious, you have to kind of stop and ponder. You have to like create this space of wonder.
Yeah, wonder's a good word, you know, because you have to, if you're not sitting in contemplation and wonder about your existence on earth, why you're born, why you're here, you know, what is, you know, for instance, what does Bali mean to you? What is it? What surge in your soul is existing there? And we just go to work, come home, watch Netflix, go to work, come home, watch Netflix. Then we're just, you know, I mean, that's a cliche, the treadmill, right?
Sure.
And we don't pause and sit in pure curiosity about our lot in life. I'm this poor kid from Northern Canada that has no education
Mm.
and had no money. And I'm walking the cities of the world. You know, I walk through the streets of the cities of the world and think, how is this possible? How is that possible?
Yeah.
I could be still in the north, you know, as a lumberjack like everybody else was, you know, or
Sure.
a hunter like everybody else was back then.
Yeah.
And I still, I've never lost that sense of pure um, wonder that is possible for this poor kid,
Yeah.
I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And in relationship, you know, you've heard of the 5 love languages,
Yeah.
right? Well, there's a sixth one.
Oh,
And the sixth love language is distance.
oh, talk
And
about that.
yeah, it's like instead of cramping on each other and you're going to go out with your friends, well, what am I going to do? That kind of energy. Well,
Yeah.
you know, entertain me, take care of me.
Yeah.
I entertain myself, you entertain yourself. So distance is fantastic. And I don't mean like you're absent. That's different.
Yeah.
A distance is, like I said, giving her space to have her own career attempt and what she's trying to fight for, and me too, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I even once a year I take off to like to go work on my book. You know, I went to Florence for a month, the month of January,
Wow.
and I hid in a hotel room there. And I disconnected from the internet for 1 month, and I only turned it on Sunday, and I never even talked to Deanna except for Sundays.
Wow.
I disappeared and sat, and I closed the hotel curtain. I didn't go. I didn't do anything but sit and stare at the manuscript I'm trying to work on. You know,
Wow.
and the incredible energy of missing each other is just
Totally.
it's got wings. You know.
Totally. And I think the
Yeah.
reason why like we don't distance and we don't do these things is because it's back to like there's like a full circle to what you're saying is like when a man is not continuously present with his woman, when he's not filled of wonder and curiosity with her, and when there's no appreciation, what's happening is she's not being fed. And so when he says, I want to leave, it's like, you haven't even deposited into me and
Yeah.
you want to make a withdrawal. You want to withdraw more of your physical presence. And that goes both ways. Like, I think even you're talking about like, you know, appreciation with her doing, you know, the dishes and things like that. But even like, even with men, it's like what I've seen in femininity is like, as women have risen up, there's also come this sense of entitlement of you're supposed to do this for
Mm-hmm.
me. And it's like, woo, that there's no love in that. Entitlement is, you know, that's pride. That's the opposite
Yeah.
of love. And so, and I've seen this in my relationships. It's like where you
Yeah.
forget appreciating the person. And it's like, that's that sense of value. We all want to feel valued and seen and appreciated. So I feel like that
Yeah.
distance is something that is very helpful. But man, you want to be like present with your woman so that she feels fed before you make that withdrawal.
You know, and the amazing thing is, you know, like, and that entitlement goes both ways. Men have it too. Like, you should be doing the dishes because you're the woman. That's cliche, right? That's an entitlement that men have. Like, you
Yeah.
owe this to me while I do my manly type things. You know, so it's broken on both sides.
Yeah.
You know, and it's I don't know. There's just the appreciation, I guess you could say, of who she is trying to be. That's,
Oh,
you
I
know,
love that. Oh
right?
my
And you comment on that,
God. Oh, I love
right?
that.
Wow. I don't know
Yeah.
why that hits me so hard. Who she like that for me, when you just said that, that makes me want to cry. Like it really, whew, like who, I don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
why this is hitting me so hard, but whoa.
Yeah. It's missing. That's why, Erica, because, we're starved for it, women are starved for it. Men are starved for it. We've lost
Oh,
the beloved. We watch a lot of pornography, and when the pornography stops, it's just your face reflected back in the screen, you know? So we've lost the contemplation of the face of the beloved in front of us. And it's it's beauty, really. It's beauty is my thesis has been for 2 decades,
I know, and I
that
love
beauty is
that.
what we're missing. Yeah.
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 It's so interesting because like even in that question, like first you have to answer that for yourself, like who am I trying to become? But then to have someone ask that and really want to know that about you, it's like that full circle of love, like giving it to yourself and
Yeah.
also receiving it from your partner.
And it's inspiring you to be that, like seeing that for you, and
Yeah.
seeing like, wow, as opposed to this challenge that we have in relationship, which is, so what did you do last night? Or where, it's just a challenge, just constantly in inquisition type of
For sure.
questions, as
For sure.
opposed to, so tell me, so like, I don't know, I have no idea what you're working on because I don't understand the technical level of it. And I have no design mind, but I'm fascinated with artistic and aesthetic plane for your spirit. You're just in that journey that she's on, which is incredible.
That's beautiful. Sorry, we had a little bit of technical difficulty, but you had finished off saying like there's a lot of like inquisition that goes on, and so kind of like really miss out on the person.
Yeah, yeah. And rather than like this penetrating inquiry that we have in relationship of each other, as opposed to the wonder of who she is.
Yeah.
Who's this girl?
And it's never that thing is not like a one question, because I believe, like we both come from spiritual backgrounds, and like there's a portion in the Bible that says that we go from glory to glory to glory.
Yeah.
And so it's like we as human beings, like, because God is so just, wow, there's so much to him, but we are also God. We carry God inside of us. Like we are many, like he's made us into his children, into many beings. So with that being said, there's so much of us that's constantly unfolding. And just when we think, oh man, I've reached my like epitome of who I can become, there's more glory to unfold. And it's like when you ask that question of like, who are you trying to become? That's an ever evolving question, because
Right.
who I wanted to become 5 years ago is completely different than who I want to become now.
Yeah, and then your conversation never ends.
Exactly.
Like I said, I sat down with Deanna in a glass of wine last night. We talked for 4 or 5 hours, and she's asleep now, of course, right? But it's like it's 4 or 5 hours we sat there on the couch, on either end of the couch, just looking at each other. And I said, blah blah blah. Tell me more about I want to know, and that's the simplicity. I mean, when you have a simplicity of life and you don't have a lot of obligations because you simplified your life like you have in Bali, you can do this type of thing. We don't watch TV and this sort of thing. So you can sit in communion.
Right.
We don't sit in communion anymore.
No.
And as you said, this is a secular society. The last 200-300 years has been an absolute shift over to the scientific type of view. And I'm a very scientific guy. I love science. I think it amazes me in physics and stuff like that. But you're either spiritual, quote unquote, or the opposite of that. You either believe in God or you're a staunch atheist, and there's no blend. And it's like, if you're a spiritual person, then you kind of cast aside science, and if you're a scientific person, you kind of cast aside anything that smacks of transcendent, and there's nothing in between, and there's no blend, and the blend has to be there because they're both valid and they're both real.
Yeah.
So,
I'm reading this book by Joe Dispenza called Becoming Supernatural. And he talks about, it's like more of quantum physics, but it really is how like that scientific world, but the spiritual world, and how both of those worlds really collide together. And it's fascinating because they really are, they're not
Yeah.
separate entities. They can be one.
And it's real, you know, like
Mm.
I wrote in my book a chapter about subcommunication,
Okay.
which is absolutely real. And women can feel it. Women can, you know, men are completely tuned out. It's like a radio waves going, and they don't have the, you know, so they don't know, they don't see, they'll say to me, well, I don't know what it meant. Like she kind of like looked at me and said something. She smiled, she laughed, she didn't laugh. And they're like trying to analyze, what does this mean? Because there's a subcommunication and energetic field, which is real, and it's quantum.
Yeah.
So that's why I can go to Italy for a month away from my girl, and she's in Bucharest, and not talk to her, because we're quantum entangled.
Whoa.
And it can't be broken.
Whoa. Whoa.
You know,
Yeah.
it's an entanglement, and it doesn't matter the distance at all. I could feel it. I could feel like that's my girl, and you can't break it. And it's the same thing with a guy in a bar, and he sees a girl, and there's something about her that catches his eye, and he really, really is attracted to her. Right?
Yeah.
There's something in there in the look, as opposed to walking over and bothering her buying her drinks of that, in the look, and she looks back, and then there's an engagement back and forth, and the eye contact, something becomes entangled, and you cannot break it. Another guy can go in there and try and pick her up, do all this kind of stuff, but she's looking over his shoulder. Where's that guy? Yeah. And it's real. That's why it doesn't matter what you say.
Yeah.
You know, it matters the energy and the comport of you as you move through life.
Yes.
You know, and you like her, and you're sincere about that. Hey, you know what? I never saw you before. I never met you before, and I like you, and I don't know why.
Yeah. It's
Incredible.
a guy who really practices like presence, and I guess like a guy who's contemplative and meditative. Like those guys have a different kind of energy to them, to where they create this, they have this entanglement. Whereas a guy who's like scattered and he's like, what should I be saying? What should I be doing? He doesn't have that sense of presence. But a man, I'm always drawn to introverts. And I think this is it. It's because when you're with them, because they spend so much time alone, when they show up with such a strong presence, because they practice being by themselves so much. So when they talk to you, it's like this force, and it's not a spoken thing. It's this energetic thing. It's just like, they're so solid in being with themselves. And when they immerse with you, you're just like, whoa, what's that?
Yeah, because they sat a lot of introspection and you know, and consideration about life and thinking about things. You know, they have time, that quiet time. I realize, you know, because I'm pretty outgoing, and I always have a house full of people.
Sure.
And yet this isolation period that we're in right now, and you know, my month in Italy, so it makes me, I'm an introvert because I like it.
Yeah.
I like to sneak around in my own apartment and like crack up on any book I want, you know.
I love that.
Blows my mind.
I love that. I love it. You know, Zan, I shared with you before we hit record, the reason why I reached out to you is because I feel like, especially now amongst singles, like people are really feeling the weightiness of being alone. And I think a lot of us are asking big questions of like, you know, what we really want out of life, as opposed to the things that have been fed to us about what we want. And so we're sitting with these big questions. Not only are we sitting with these questions, we're seeing that they're not present in our lives, and we're feeling the pain that comes with that, the longing, the hurt, the frustration. And so I feel like I'm a bit of a light worker, so I can always feel what's going on in the collective. And one thing that I've had to do is really I'm like chasing after beauty here. And I feel like in those moments of longing and hurt and pain and uncertainty and questions like, what do I really want? Why isn't this in my life? That the one thing that nourishes our soul, the one thing that heals us, the one thing that fills us is beauty. And I've just like, I don't drive the motorbikes out here, but I have a driver, and I'm constantly like, let's go see a waterfall. Let's go see a mountain. I've got this like hunger because I feel all of the hurt and the pain that's going on in the world, and to replenish myself as someone who coaches people. I'm gorging myself on beauty right now. So when people are like in quarantine, like Bali, it's a little bit more relaxed here. I guess I shouldn't be advertising that, but it is. Um, and so if someone's stuck in home, like how do they feed on beauty at home when they're stuck at home?
Well, that's a good question. You know, to me, beauty is salvation, and that we're all seeking. You know, and
Jesus Christ, the things that come out of your mouth. You just said that and I was like, let me spit out my coffee. Let me just pull back. Oh, can you say that again? Beauty is what?
salvation.
Jesus Christ, that is amazing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so good.
You know, we're all looking for salvation. That's the basis of it. You know,
Mm.
and it's true. Like, you know, if there's anything such as the voice of the Holy Spirit, I think is beauty.
Whoa.
Has to be. Think of it, you know? And I think beauty is a real physical, in the physics type of sense of the word, entity that we've turned our face away from. That's
Whoa.
why, art used to be about, I'm going to paint a pastoral scene or paint a portrait or something, and now art is about the artist.
Mm.
Look at me, look what I can do. Look, I can shock you by cutting up a cow, and I can do these things. Glorify me, the artist,
Yeah.
as opposed to sit in contemplation of what moved me was this painting, and I hope it moves you too.
Yeah.
So beauty, we've turned our face from beauty in this world, this modern world, and we're paying the price for it. You know,
Mm.
we have to pay for our sins against beauty.
Yeah.
And we're reaping that. And so people in this time of quarantine and isolation, Bucharest, it's very strong here. Like you can't go out without a decoration paper of you going to the store or whatever, right? So it's very empty and very quiet. Makes us pause and contemplate that how fragile society is, how fragile life is, you know, because there's a book that was written, I think, in the 70s, called The Denial of Death. And the thesis of the book is that we glut ourselves with consumables, food, entertainment, and karate lessons in the evening. Just fill up our time so that we don't have to sit quietly and contemplate that one of these days we're going to die, and we're all going, And so we're denying it, and we bat it away. And when something like this hits us, hits society, hits the world, we realize the fragility of it. We realize, what is important. The ones you loved and the ones who loved you, and the simplicity of it. And who knows how we're going to, the society is going to erupt out of this, when this lifts. Are we going to be more slow paced and relaxed and realize that, like that consumer lifestyle I had and spending money on a bunch of stuff, didn't mean anything when I was stuck in quarantine? I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows how it's going to rise?
I feel like I just did a post on Instagram and I was saying that, like kind of what you're saying, like how did our possessions, how did our careers, how did all these things become the priority? And I think it's my favorite author besides you is John Eldridge. And he wrote this book called Waking the Dead. And it was my renunciation in life. But he says like, it is the glory of God for our heart to come fully alive. And I think that we've strayed away from just our hearts. Like our hearts to me are the compass to all of life. So it's like, if my heart is hurting or longing, my heart's going to say, go play that Josh Groban song. Go paint your nails. Go put on that red lipstick. Go put on that silky dress. Like my heart's going to draw me to beauty because it knows that it feeds me, and it's what's going to sustain me, and it's going to keep me alive. It's what's going to make me thrive. And it's so interesting. Like if you talk to someone and you say like, how is your heart? I have girlfriends that I can talk to like this and say, hey babe, how's your heart? And they can tell me, but that's pretty foreign in society. Like if I walk them and say, how's your heart? I mean, it's just like, what? But if I say, how's your car? How's your job?
Yeah.
All these things we can answer.
Exactly.
But to me, the heart is the compass. And I think in this kind of time, it's like, while we're asking these questions, it's imperative that we feed our hearts. You know, like I told you, I'm chasing beauty constantly, but even today, like I was just sitting and having coffee and there were just like birds flying, and I just stopped and wondered. I felt like Snow White. I felt like I was in this fairy tale, and like all these birds just started coming around me. I was like, should I sing a song or something? Like it was just so poetic. And it's like, that's the thing about beauty is you say that beauty needs a witness, which damn it, that's so true. But it's interesting, like once you witness beauty, like for me in that moment, when I witnessed those birds, it's like nature, beauty will respond. Like whatever you put your focus on, quantum physics, whatever you focus on expands. And so if I'm drawn to beauty and I really get present with it, I appreciate all the things that you've been talking about. What happens is it continues to expand and grow. And it was interesting. As I watched one bird, more birds came. And it was just like, that's what beauty does, is it's so, I don't know what the word is.
Yeah.
Effervescent. I don't know the word.
Effervescent. Yeah. Beauty has go ahead. Sorry.
You go ahead.
I was just gonna say, beauty has a quality of dawning on us.
Mm.
You know, when you look at a painting that stops you in your tracks, there's a dawning quality to that. It kind of, it comes upon you like the sun rising, you know. And the same as when you look in the face of the beloved, there's a dawning quality to that. And yeah, I think I mean this is what I'm trying to understand for myself. You know, like what is this? I think that it's such a real thing that since the beginning of time, beauty has been a layer.
Yeah.
That is real. Yeah. That we've batted away. We've completely. And you know what? You can take the most staunch religious, devotee type of person, and you take the most staunch humanistic atheist type person, and the one thing they have in common is a desire for beauty.
Wow.
Think about that.
Wow.
Everyone has tear in their eye at a scene in a movie.
Yeah.
Everyone is drawn to music that gives them frisson, you know, the goosebumps.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter your religion, your culture, your age.
Yeah.
Everybody is drawn. Has a longing for beauty.
Yeah.
Chasing beauty, like you said.
Yeah.
And we're missing it, and we're starved for it.
Yeah.
That's the essence of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so much.
That's why you've got religious extremism. You know, and terrorism. You've got relationships that are antagonistic and vile and suspicious. You've got politics that is in a turmoil, and you know, because we've architecture, music. You know, we've turned our face from beauty, and so the whole point is to restore beauty in our own little way, like you said. You know, how can we do that when we're stuck in our bungalows, in our burrows? You know. Contemplation and wondering about who you are, and you know, what is it you want to maximize, or how do you want to, you know, how do you want to move forward, you know, I guess.
I almost like, I don't know why I feel compelled to share this, but I feel like when it comes to God, like the foundation of God is love, but his essence is beauty. Yes. And I'll never forget, I went through a really shit time in my life. I've gone through many of these. One of the times, and it was dark, Zan. It was like I was suicidal. It was everything. So I had to fly to Texas to see some people that were like second parents. Oh. Really heavy time. And she's like a mom. She had me lay on her lap, and she was playing with my hair. And she was just praying over me as she was playing with my hair. And she was playing this song in the background. It was a worship song. And the woman was saying, God, show me your glory. Show me your glory. And I remember laying on the floor with my head in her lap, her playing with my hair, and just tears flowing and just crying out, God, show me your glory. Show me your glory. I'm so desperate. Show me your glory. And God said the sweetest thing to me. He said, Arica, just look in the mirror. And I said, he's so freaking romantic. He's the most romantic guy I know, that God. And it's also, I love what you're saying about contemplation and coming back to ourselves, because in ourselves we carry God, and in that we carry glory, and we carry that beauty, that essence. But I think more than anything, it's like, while I chase beauty in Bali, I have to also remember just to stop and see the beauty in myself, the beauty of how I treat my staff. Like right now we're doing this interview and the cleaning lady just came up and I did my hand like this. And for me right now, that's pushing my buttons. I'm like, I'm going to have a conversation with you because I never want to do this to a person, you know, and explain to her I'm just on an interview. But it's when I show my love for my fellow man, that's part of my glory. That's part of my beauty. When you say something that hits my heart and I allow the tears to come on camera, that's part of my tenderness. That's part of my beauty. And it's like coming home to ourselves where God abides, that glory that's inside of us. Hopefully in this time, I'm just going to speak that out because I believe that we have power in our words. I'm going to speak that out to anyone who is watching this right now, that in the midst of this contemplation, that you see your own beauty, that you see your own glory, that you see the inner God inside of you, those things that, you know, you've been running from, that make you good, that make you beautiful, that make you brilliant, that make you strong and powerful, that you would start seeing that. It's that Marianne Williamson quote. She says, it's not the things like, it's not our failures. It's not all of this that we're afraid of. We're afraid of who we actually can become. And I mean, I one night got woken up here because Bali is a really spiritual place. And I woke up and it felt like anxiety, but it wasn't fear. And I said, God, what is this? Like, it's 4 a.m. I'm like, oh, I almost can't breathe. What is this? And he says, there's so much more inside of you that you haven't even tapped into, and it's ready to burst at the seams. And I was like, and it was overwhelming. Wow. And that's what we carry. We carry the essence of God inside of us. And that essence is just waiting to come alive. But for that to have a voice, we have to stop. We have to surrender. We have to feed ourselves on beauty and really ask these questions like you're asking, like, who am I? Who do I want to become?
Yeah, it's fantastic. We don't hear the voice of God anymore because the voice of God is beauty.
Yeah. Oh my God. I would die without the voice of God. If he, I'm like so dependent upon his voice. I would die without it. Oh.
Well, you said the story in Texas, you know, like that something, you touched something that's transcendent to this mundane earth, you know. You point straight to the divine. And music is unique, and it's one of the most direct ways that we can connect to something that's transcendent to our own experience. You know, it's direct. It goes right into you. We get goosebumps on our arm or the back of our neck, the hair stand up, and science can't explain that, you know, but it's real. And it happens to everybody in every culture, whether you're any kind of a believer in anything or not, you know, it happens. So it's like, it's a direct connection to the divine. And that's, you know, what when you had your hair stroked and you listening to the music, you know, that's something you've never forgotten, and enough that you could tell the story today. And you'll carry that to the day you die, you know. You'll always remember that. So that's maximizing those types of connection to the divine is what we'll remember. And you maximize those experiences in life. That's why you slow down. You sit in contemplation. You know, you don't just glut yourself on junk food and junk media. Yeah. You know,
that's so true. Oh, guys, if you have not read The Alabaster Girl, oh my God, you have to read this book. I said it in the last art interview years ago. I said it is the Bible of women. I should go back and read it because, like I said, when I was reading it, I just remember reading different pieces and I was like, oh shit, this is stuff that I think in my mind, but I've never had the guts to say out loud to myself. And you knew it all. I was like, how does he know these things?
You know, I've never cracked it open since I wrote it.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I did that YouTube series with Jordan where we sat around the table and we had a coffee conversation with the Alabaster Girl. We all had the books and they're saying on page 212, you said this, and I'm pretending to look at it. I can't. Yeah. I haven't looked at it. If I see somebody will post a paragraph, you know, on Facebook or something, I can barely read it. And it's not because I don't think it's good. It's just that there was such a I don't know what it was. It was like something came out of my system, you know.
Wow.
And now that time is done. And the only thing that has any real excitement for me is the next book I'm trying to write.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Incredible, man.
Yeah.
But I appreciate everything you said, you know, and I get people messaging me every day saying, you know, I read your book 3 times, stuff like that. But it feels like we're just now starting to maybe for the next 50 years tap into something that we're trying to understand. You know, we're just on the edge of it. And there's nothing new under the sun, Ecclesiastes, you know, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything that you're trying to say in your YouTube videos, in your writings, etc., Eric, has been said before. And everything I've ever said and written has been said before. But every couple generations, you forget it.
Yeah.
And so it has to be said again. It's fresh voices. Like people in this coronavirus time were thinking, this is the disaster that, why has this happened on us, you know? And this is this major thing that is impinging upon my life. But they forget that happened 100 years ago, and with the Spanish flu, killed a quarter of Europe, you know?
Yeah.
They forget that. And everybody's wearing masks and no gatherings over 10 people. And the same thing now, but we think it's only us that had to go through anything, you know? Because we're so self-centered. We're so, look at me. We're so like, you know, self-forward and solipsistic that we think that this never happened in history to anybody else. And we just, you know, we forget it all.
Sure.
You know?
Well, Zan, before we wrap this up, I just feel it in my heart, and I want to do this. I just want to honor you as a man. And I just want to say, Zan, I appreciate you, and you are such a gift on this earth. You really are. And you truly are a legendary man. I said to you at the beginning of our call, I love that you've lived your life giving yourself permission to do life on your own terms. And that sounds easy and very fluid to say, but that comes with tremendous courage. It takes a lot of courage, I believe, to live life that way. And it also takes a lot of surrendering to the unknown. And surrender is such a beautiful thing. Trust, you've trusted life, as you said. And I just really want to honor you for that, just because, you know, to do what you do, it comes with a cost sometimes. I'm sure you've been through many times of just like, what the hell? And so these sort of things, in my experience, come with a cost. And I just say, I honor you. I honor your journey to get you here. And just thank you for sharing your heart and the treasures that you found in your quest for beauty. Thank you for sharing those with us.
That was very kind. Thank you.
You're so
I
welcome.
appreciate that a lot. I really do.
You're so
It's
welcome.
meaningful. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. And I hope that you guys got a lot out of this. And please, I beg you, go read The Alabaster Girl. You have to get a hold of this book. I'll put a link in. You guys have to go read this. All right. Sending you guys love from Bucharest and Bali.
From Bucharest.
The bees. Bye, guys.
That's right.